Hi, this is Brendan from Watto Training, and in this tutorial we take a look at risk assessment of manoeuvres for Queensland applicants. What is risk management in relation to driving test manoeuvres? Being able to identify hazards is crucial in ensuring manoeuvres are carried out safely. Your past experience in life and/or work may help you to identify some potential hazards, but remember to also draw upon the skills and knowledge of those around you to help. Hazards could include a dangerous corner with poor visibility, a tight space, poor visibility, an area that's considered too busy, an illegal area, for example, no parking zone. Once hazards have been identified, you need to assess the level of risk. That is, we must determine how likely it is that there could be harm to you, the learner, other road users, as well as damage to property. Then we need to look at the consequences of that harm. For example, minor, such as scratched rims on a driving school car, through to extreme, such as loss of life. A trainer needs to not only risk assess manoeuvres, but switch on their risk assessment radar system at all times. This involves considering the consequence, how serious would the injury or illness be, how many people are at risk, and the likelihood, has it happened before, how often might it happen, and when is it most likely to happen. Talk with other trainers from your company or industry contacts to identify all potential hazards and the best ways to eliminate or reduce the risk. Break down the tasks. For example, what is it about the maneuver that is potentially risky? If you're uncoupling a semi-trailer, you and the trainee will be walking around the vehicle. Is there sufficient space to do so? Are there heavy vehicles roaring up and down the road whilst you're trying to instruct? Are you working with a new piece of equipment or a vehicle that you need to learn about to be able to use it safely? Understand the hazards associated with tasks you supervise and have risk controls in place before work starts. This could mean preventing work from being done while a safety issue is being resolved. Take action to resolve health and safety issues as soon as possible. This includes escalating the issue to more senior management if necessary. Once agreement is reached on how to fix the problem, implement it as soon as possible. Condition your mindset and take action if and where necessary. To reiterate, identify hazards, find out what could cause harm, assess risks if necessary, understand the nature of the harm that could be caused by the hazard, how serious the harm could be, and the likelihood of it happening. Control the risks. Implement the most effective control measure that is reasonably practical in the circumstances. Review control measures to ensure they are working as planned. Let's take a look at the risk management matrix. A risk management matrix is one way of combining consequence and likelihood to give risk level. The trainee instructor is required to use the tables in upcoming slides to rate the risk of the location of each manoeuvre in the practical on-road assessment. The trainee must determine if the road situation selected is safe for a learner to conduct the manoeuvre. The trainee must use the risk rating tools below. Number 1. Table 1, Likelihood Assessment Table. What is the likelihood of a crash occurring in this location during a manoeuvre? If you take a look down the left side of the screen, we can see almost certain, likely, possible, unlikely, and rare. We then have the descriptors on the right. If you wish to go through those in detail, please pause the slide and read through those. Okay, now we have table number 2, the Consequence Assessment Table. What would the consequences for the trainer, learner, and vehicle and other road users be if a crash occurred in this location during a manoeuvre? If we look at the left side here, we have extreme, major, moderate, minor, and insignificant. Please feel free to freeze the tutorial at the moment and read through the descriptors on the right. Okay, now we then go to table 3. So we take our likelihood and our consequence and join those together to work out what the risk rating is. So for example, if we take a look at rare, which is just here in the likelihood, and insignificant in the consequence, we can see that the rating would be low. and we can see all these green areas here, all of those outcomes would be low in the rating. Then as we go further down in the likelihood and further across in the consequence, we can see medium. If we go further across again in the consequence and further down in the likelihood, we can see that the outcome would be high. And finally, almost certain and extreme would be an extreme outcome as well. I would say as a general rule that you want to be as much as possible choosing areas which are in the green zone here when it comes to maneuvers. There may be a little bit more risk in some areas. That may depend also on in the area that you live in, because you might live in more of a built-up area where there's a high traffic density, and also in the class of vehicle. So uncoupling, recoupling a trailer, for example, is a bigger vehicle, takes up more space. The trainer and the student need to be walking around the vehicle, so that's got some inherent risk as well. And if you add into that other issues such as heavy rain, that could be affect visibility, it could make surfaces slippery and so on. So we have to be thinking about the context as well. Let's take a look at reverse park example number 1. Here we've got our red vehicle that we're going to be doing the reverse park on. So a car would be stopping here, which is very close to that corner. Now if you have a look over here on the other side of the road, we've got a truck and we've got a person here operating looks like a little excavator of some sort. So there's some sort of construction and renovation going on there. So if the vehicle was sitting here right in the middle of the road and someone came flying around the corner here, there could be a safety risk to the student. So let's take a look at our risk assessment. So first of all, table 1, the likelihood. If you look down here, we've said, okay, it's possible that there could be some sort of crash occurring. Table number 2, we've said that the risk would be moderate, and we join those two together. So we've got possible and moderate. So there'd be a medium risk would be our rating for that one, and we've marked that down here. Okay, on the next one we've got reverse park example 2. We can see here's the car that we're going to be doing the reverse park on. However, if we park here, we'll be right in the middle of the road. It's quite thin, and we can see there's a bend to the right there. Now it's not an extreme bend, but it is actually still a bend with limited vision. Also, you'd be reversing in front of a driveway over here, which would mean that you're doing an illegal park in front of that driveway. So there's a few issues on this one. It looks like a residential area, quiet back street. It doesn't look like it's high density traffic, and we can see it's a clear blue sky. So if we take a look at our table here, so our first one is that we could say yes, it's possible because of 1, the driveway, and 2, because of the bend. Secondly, moderate. There could be some, it's only a 50 zone, so it's a low speed zone, not a high speed zone. However, there could be some issues. If we join up those two, so we've got possible and moderate, there'd be a medium risk there. So again, you may say, look, this probably isn't the best place to do this, we might go somewhere else. Okay, next one, example number 3, is straight line reverse. There's a few issues here. There's driveways, there's wheelie bins, there's a truck parked down here. There's a bit of a downward slope that goes on there, so we can't really see what's coming from up the road. And over here we've got a car and we've got some workers on the other side of the road. So for our HC reversing exercise, first of all, we've said that the crash is unlikely because there's reasonable vision. They're going to be going straight line. They're not going to be going across the line of traffic. Also, I noticed in all my years as a truck instructor, it's not like a motorcycle where you can get hidden easily in blind spots. Trucks are like big billboards driving around. So they're usually seen by other vehicles. So even if your learner driver is struggling, other people usually see you and can take evasive action. Okay, over to table number 2, we've said that there is moderate risk for the example that we've given, and then you join those two up on table number 3, and that would come out as a low risk maneuver. Okay, this is turnaround maneuver, which is also known in other states as a 3-point turn. Let's take a look at this one here. So we've got unlikely. This is a very quiet regional area where this maneuver is. If you just go back for a moment, you can see there's no edges on the road, and that's because, again, it's a rural area. So on the right, you just go off onto the grass and on the left as well. There's a bit of a culvert or a drain over on the left there that you just have to be wary of. I'm just pointing to with the cursor. And there's some wheelie bins out. Looks like they've been collected, however. The rubbish has been collected, I should say. Okay, so we would say it's unlikely in the likelihood, and over here on table 2, it's minor, so we go unlikelihood minor. This is a low risk area. I would totally agree with that. Okay, so let's just recap on some of our key terms before we close out this tutorial. First of all, a hazard. A hazard means a situation or thing that has the potential to harm a person. Hazards at work may include noisy machinery, a moving forklift, chemicals, electricity, working at heights, a repetitive job, bullying, and violence at the workplace. So I've put that general definition in there, but in this specific hazard, we're looking at hazards in terms of maneuvers in that road environment. Risk. Risk is the possibility that harm, death, injury, or illness might occur when exposed to a hazard. Risk control. Risk control means taking action to eliminate health and safety risks so far as reasonably practicable, and if that is not possible, maximizing the risks so far as reasonably practicable. Eliminating a hazard will also eliminate any risks associated with that hazard. So at the end of the day, if you take care with where you choose to do your maneuvers, you will greatly lower the risk, and also you will know what to expect. I find that unknown areas are often at a higher risk because you don't have that local knowledge. You haven't run the maneuver there 20 times or 200 times where you know the traffic flow or the potential risks or so on. So be very wary when you go into areas outside of your frame of reference. Thanks for watching. This has been Brendan from Watto Training.